All right, welcome to today's Explainer. We are looking at a truly mind-bending case file today. We're going to explore exactly what happens when a state's legal framework collides head-on with the laws of physics, network theory, and philosophy. It's this incredibly rare intersection of the justice system and the hard sciences, all revolving around one individual, Dr. Chen Jingyan, a researcher in nonlinear complex systems. Let's get into it.
To really understand why this case is so unique, we have to start with the baseline facts from the case files. Dr. Chen was sentenced to 20 months in prison. And his crime? Well, according to the documents, it wasn't a violent act, and it wasn't some complex financial fraud. The evidence was just network posts, some images, articles, and political commentary that he had sporadically retweeted over a few years. And here is the absolute wildest part. His account had fewer than 100 followers. Most of them were just inactive zombie accounts. Yet somehow, this tiny digital footprint triggered a major criminal conviction. So you might be wondering, what exactly was the legal charge? He was convicted of picking quarrels and provoking trouble. The source documents outline the legal parameters for this. For this specific charge to actually stick in a network context, it needs three things. First, you need the intentional spread of false information. Second, a malicious subjective motive. And third, and this is absolutely crucial, the action must objectively cause a severe disruption of public order. Keep that last part in mind. So here is our roadmap for unpacking all of this. 1. The arrest and the charge. 2. The state's legal arguments. 3. Dissecting the alleged rumors. 4. The physics of public order. 5. The philosophy of knowing. And finally, 6. A message for the future.
Section 1. The arrest and the charge.
Let's quickly trace the timeline. According to the court documents, Chen is a PhD holder who had just moved back to his rural hometown in Yunnan to work as an independent scholar. He's arrested in September 2022, and by January 2023, he's formally indicted. Jump to April, and a closed-door trial hits him with a guilty verdict and a 20-month sentence. He appeals immediately, of course, but by May, that appeal is totally rejected without a hearing, and the sentence is upheld. Section 2. The state's legal arguments.
Now, the contrast here is fascinating. To meet that legal requirement that he intentionally spread false rumors, the court leaned heavily on his academic background. The state basically said, look, you're a highly educated intellectual with a PhD. Therefore, you can easily tell what's true and what's false. If you retweeted it, you must have known it was a lie. But Chen's defense totally flipped that logic on its head. He argued that his decades of scientific training taught him the exact opposite. To him, human knowledge is deeply limited. Having a high level of education doesn't just hand you absolute certainty about the world. Instead, it gives you a profound awareness of the boundaries of what you can actually know.
Section 3. Dissecting the alleged rumors.
Chen then took all the alleged rumors and broke them down into 4 distinct categories. First up, art and cartoons, like a drawing of a girl with an umbrella. Second, emotional expressions, like posting a photo of a candle on a specific date. He pointed out that art and emotion are fundamentally subjective. They completely lack scientific falsifiability, meaning you literally cannot legally classify them as true or false rumors. His third category was theoretical and political articles, which he simply viewed as normal academic debate. And the fourth was historical descriptions. Now, he admitted history could technically be verified, but verifying it takes immense resources. A single citizen doesn't have those resources, the state does. Plus, he noted a lot of those original posts were still online anyway, uncensored and unrefuted.
Section 4. The physics of public order.
Okay, remember that crucial legal requirement that his actions had to cause severe public disorder? Well, Chen didn't use case law to fight this point. He used physics. He brought in concepts from complex systems theory, specifically something called avalanche dynamics. Physicists use this framework to study how a tiny little bump, like a single retweet, might trigger a massive cascading collapse across a complex network. Think of a financial market crash or the sudden spread of a virus. When you compare the law to the math, the gap is just staggering. The law demands massive reach and high engagement to prove a severe disruption. But what was Chen's actual mathematical reality? He had under 100 followers. In network science terms, he was just an edge node with virtually zero interaction. For his isolated retweets to actually cause a societal avalanche, the entire network would already have to be in a highly unstable, supercritical state. But mathematically speaking, his network position was deep subcritical. He even backed this up by calculating the exact probability using a mathematical model called the Galton-Watson branching process.
And the result? A 99% extinction probability. In a network where the average number of new branches, like new retweets, from a single user is less than 1, the cascade just dies out. It's practically guaranteed. The probability of his retweets causing any wider network collapse was virtually 0. From a strictly scientific, objective standpoint, it was physically impossible for his actions to have caused the severe public disorder the law demanded.
Section 5. The philosophy of knowing. So, how does a court prove exactly what a person absolutely knows? Chen argued that demanding absolute certainty about complex political or historical information is fundamentally impossible. To prove his point, he actually brought up Gödel's incompleteness theorem. It's a mathematical proof showing that any complex logical system has built-in limits. It literally cannot prove all truths about itself. He combined that with Plato's cave, the classic philosophical idea that humans are like prisoners, seeing only shadows, never the complete reality. By blending math and philosophy, he argued that demanding a citizen be absolutely certain about the truth of academic discourse completely ignores the foundational limits of human cognition.
Section 6. A message for the future. All of this brings us to a really crucial question. Why sit in a prison cell and write out this incredibly dense, highly theoretical document full of physics and epistemology, especially when the judicial process is entirely closed and your appeal has already been outright rejected? Who is he writing this for?
The answer is right there in his prefaces. He wrote it explicitly as an archive for future readers. It's a time capsule. He knew his complex scientific arguments were never going to sway the court that sentenced him. What he wanted was to document the profound disconnect between legal power and scientific reality. He wanted to leave a precise, rational record of a moment in history where the vocabulary of science, probability, critical states, epistemology, crashed directly into a judicial system that only spoke the language of absolute authority and predetermined conclusions.
I want to leave you with this incredibly powerful thought straight from the source material. In the era of suppressed rationality, there are still people who insist on speaking completely. That really hits hard, doesn't it? It invites us all to step back and ponder the delicate balance between institutional power and the actual limits of human knowledge. Because when absolute authority demands absolute certainty, what happens to the objective realities of science? It's definitely a question worth thinking about. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and keep questioning the world around you.